Okay everybody, it's Susan. We have to put together this 5th Bundle to Go card. So if you've already watched the way I prepped the pieces, this is not going to be a big surprise for you. But if you're watching this one first, surprise, this one's a fun card. We are doing a diagonal fold card. So you see it has 2 diagonal openings at the top. I definitely suggest you watch the way I prep the material so it makes a little more sense to you if you want to repeat the card. And this one is pretty much going to be a designer series paper card for the most part, other than our little tag. So this paper is really great standalone. So I just thought this would be a fun one to do, and we're going to be using our blends today as well. So let's go ahead and get started because it'll take me a little bit of time to do the coloring bit. Okay, so when you get your kit, it will be pre-done with all the cutting and measuring. So you'll have your basic gray base. Okay. You're going to have a piece of our white ribbon with the silver edges. I haven't even checked to see if this is retiring, so I don't know if you can still get this or not. But we are going to color it today with our blends, and you can color it also with your standard markers if you wanted to. Then you're going to have a piece to create your little tag on the front, and you're just going to stamp whatever words you want to use in there for the front of your card. So lots of great words. Sorry, lots of great words in the set you can use that will fit on the shape of the tag. I have pre-stamped the congratulations again and die cut that, just so we save a little bit of time. I know you guys can stamp and die cut. Okay, so there's that little piece. Then you're going to have a piece of designer series paper that I will pre-cut with the circle, so you'll have a circle. And you're also going to have a scallop circle out of Whisper White as a backer. Okay. Now, all of your pieces, because I did the piece that was the multi-flower, all of your pieces are going to be different. So just like this piece is different from the one I made my sample out of, each of your cards will be a little bit unique in that way. Okay, we're going to get to that in just a minute. Then you're going to have the 2 triangle pieces that I showed you I cut, and you're going to have a liner. So I'm going to go ahead and put that liner in. And of course, if you want to stamp on it first and put it in after, I always suggest that, but at the moment I'm leaving it blank. Okay, so there's our insert. Now we have our 2 triangles. So you can put them on the way I did, with the crosshatch one below and the leaves above, or you can turn it around and put the leaves on the bottom and put the crosshatch on the top. So however you prefer your patterns. But first we're going to color them with our blends. So I'm just going to bring in a little piece of scrap here because the blends bleed through. I don't think I'm going to zoom in on this one. You guys understand what I'm doing. So this time with these flowers, I'm going to be using some softer colors. I decided to use I think this is Pink Pirouette, yep, and Pool Party, Old Olive, and then I've got my color lifter just in case. So since these are going to be my colors, and I'm going to stick with the green on the leaves, I think I'll do maybe the blue for the lattice work. So, you know, this one, you choose the colors you want to use and go from there. So I'm just literally going to be following the lines on the paper here. And just letting my blend bleed out onto the designer series paper. Now remember, your designer series paper is thin, so unless you want a lot of ink on your scrap mat, which is what it's for, I would just put another little piece underneath. So, or this is a great time to keep those kind of gunky scrap mats. I kind of have a pile of them that I use when I'm cleaning stamps, or if I know I'm going to be using sticky glue or my blends, I pull them out to just create an extra mat in my workspace, and then I just toss them because I'm not worried about serving the paper at that point. Alright, so I'm going to do this bottom edge. Getting the ends is sometimes a little more tedious, but I'll just color those in. The other thing you could do, I just thought of this, is with this pattern you could use different color blends for each direction of line if you wanted to. I guess it would make it look a little more plaid-like, but you know, it's your card. You play with it the way you see it and make it your own. So this is going to take us a little time. I guess I could have done some of this beforehand, but I didn't. So you can fast forward on the video if you want to. I promise not to share any great secrets until I'm done adding my color on, so you won't miss anything if I'm sounding like a chipmunk. See how I just keep turning the paper so I can work with it. And where my marker is overlapping, I'm getting a little bit of a shadow because it's the blend, so it's blending with itself. But I'm okay with that. If you didn't want to do it with blends, you could do it with a brayer or a sponge and your ink pads and color it as well. Okay, so that's going to be my crosshatch. Then for my leaves, I'm just going to paint them with my blend. So, and this time I just kind of scribble over it because there's a lot of black on here. So I'm just kind of shade in where we've got white. Remember, the alcohol ink tends to flow pretty easily, so you don't have to push hard to apply the color. One more. Okay, so we've got our two panels for the front of our card. So now let me bring in the one I'm coloring. Let's see, is there any leaf in here? I'll do that first because that's what's in my hand. Now I left some white in the background on that one. If you choose to color the whole thing, including your background, I might advise that you color the background first. If you're going to use a light color. If you're going to color a dark color, I would do it last. And just be careful of your crossover. If you do it with a light color, your darker blends will just blend over the top of the light color, but if you're doing it with a dark color, like if say you wanted to do the background with a gray or a black, then you want to be careful not to bleed over onto your colored parts. Okay, I'm going to use the light Pool Party for this flower. This one reminds me of like a pussy willow, so I want to go with a light bluish tinge here. There, got my leaf in there I noticed as I was coloring along. Now the nice thing about this paper is that it's already kind of got shadow worked into the image, so if you just want to work with your lighter color blends, it's going to create its own shadow. But of course, if you want to add more shadow, just go over it with the darker blend. I'm going to do this nice big flower with pink, with a pirouette pink. So this is kind of nice to start with a black and white, and then you can add whatever color fancies your liking when you're putting it together. So there's that, and let's see, I'm going to use a darker Pool Party for this little flower on the side. Okay, so there's that. So let's put this together. So this one's just going to get mounted up onto the scallop circle. Okay, now we got to put our 2 panels on. So you might want to use your liquid glue, because it'll allow you to spread it, shift it around on there. I'm going to go ahead and use snail and cross my fingers that I get it on in the right place. So you might want to have one panel open while you're working that way, or you know what, better idea, flip it over. Then you're just working on this triangle. And I probably just put my head in the shot, sorry. You're working on this triangle, smooth that one down and flip it over and work on the other triangle. Piece this one on. Okay, so there's that. Then we're putting this one on, and I'm going to use dimensionals because that makes it easy. And I'm actually just going to put my dimensionals on my card front here. That way when I put the big round circle on, I'm just pressing it down. Now let's see, which way do I want? I'm going to put my big pink flower kind of on the side. So just center that and attach it, okay, so I can still open my card. Now we're going to put the congratulations on. I'm going to use more dimensionals. If you don't want it super thick, you could use glue dots or snail. But I'm going to go for the dimensionals. Part of that reason is we're going to put the ribbon on and I don't want it to get lost. So I'm just positioning this down at the bottom of the circle where the 2 tips overlap with the edges. That's me. Okay, so now I've pre-done a ribbon just so it's not wet when I'm trying to make my bow. But this is how I colored my ribbon. So I just put it down. Let's see, I'm going to color this one. Well, I guess I'm doing green, so I'll do another green one. Okay, so I just use my blend and I run it along my ribbon, and it just dyes the ribbon with the ink from the blend. Now one thing I noticed is that I let my ribbon dry before I made my bow out of it, so I wouldn't get ink transfer on my fingers. The blends dry pretty quick though, so I probably don't have to let it dry that long. But if you use the Stampin' Up markers, you definitely want it to dry or you'll get ink transfer on your fingers. But I'm just bleeding that ink into the fabric of the ribbon, and you can go back and add more color if you wanted to. If you wanted a rainbow ribbon, you could certainly paint it any way you wanted to, but that's kind of a nice way to start with white ribbon and make it a ribbon to coordinate with your project. So that's pretty easy. Okay, so I'm just going to make a bunny ear bow. So again, I take it and I make half a loop, and then I pull it apart and I make 2 loops. Okay, big enough to work with, and then I cross them, tie a knot. So that's my bunny ear bow. Stick that through. I'll let the tail flip over, and then I pull it. And then while it's still a little bit loose, I can twist my ears of my bow. I can pull on the tails. Can make it, change it in size. Okay, I always try to keep my ears relatively the same, and then I take my scissors and we'll just trim up the tail together. So I just put my tails like that, get my scissors out, and I cut on a diagonal. Ouch! I just cut my finger. Be careful, don't do that. They're very sharp. You can tell it's morning here, right? Okay, so don't think I'm going to bleed all over the project. So bring this in. I'm going to put it on glue dots. Make sure it's snug. I'm putting it on glue dots. Probably only needs one, and then I'm just putting that underneath my little tag. Okay, so there's that. Let's see. I was thinking afterwards, because I hadn't pre-done the envelope before I put the filming on, but depending on what your flowers selections are, you could take a stamp from your stamp set that coordinates well and stamp your envelope. Now, if you want to stamp in color, if you want to do the blend coloring, make sure you use Memento. But remember, this blends are going to bleed through your envelope, so you may or may not want to do that. But if I do that, you could even put, like I was doing before, you could line the envelope now and flip it over and color with the blend. So for this one, since I have that flower on my paper, I could just now come in and make this coordinate. But if you have the rose piece, you could stamp the roses. If you've got, you know, you can put some, or you could always do the polka dots. But add some flair to your card and your envelope. All right, so you can see I just lined it, and now it didn't. It's still going to bleed through, but it's not going to bleed all the way through to the back. So there we go, guys. All right, I hope you enjoy this one. We worked for it, so enjoy putting it together. Remember, your cards are going to be different. The backgrounds will be the same, but your centerpieces will all be different. So make it yours and have fun with it. Okay, we've got one more to go next month, and then this bundle will be done. So I hope you're enjoying this set and your papers, and I'm sure I'll be playing with it more. So until next time, have a great day. Happy stamping.